2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
As a therapist, what is my responsibility?
Welcome to the Real Talk Recovery Podcast with the Therapy Brothers.
We're brothers, we're therapists, and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery. Okay, Brannon, this is going to be an interesting one because you didn't really give me any background as to why you picked this topic today. So you're going to kind of shoot this blind to me.
Yeah, well, hey, you're a master. You're an expert. So I'm not worried about you. You'll be fine.
I'm the one in the dark here. So
yes, this is kind of fun. But I want so I have a bit of a vulnerability hangover going on.
Okay.
So I've fired up Instagram again. And I've done some content. I think it's going pretty well. I really like the content that we're producing. But I did an Instagram reel, a video of me talking, and I watched it and I thought, ooh, that's not very good.
I don't think I've seen it yet.
Yeah. Now look, I'm going to push people to go see it. So let me give.
Now we can let 5,000 people go critique it.
Yeah. Let me give you the gist of it. So, go share it with all your friends. So I was telling this story about this kind of, just kind of this nerdy client who's was very conservative. Vanilla client, just very, and he came in and he said, Brannon, I want to be a porn star. And what I was talking about is how instead of me just jumping all over him and saying, no, don't be a porn star, I kind of sat back and listened for a little longer. And then I said, well, if that's what you want to be, then that's what you need to be. And also, to understand the consequences of that decision of going forward with that, right? And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, this guy's never going to actually go do this. But the point I was trying to make was that rejecting your thoughts and your feelings and those type of things isn't the way to really step into your power and choose what you want to do. And so what I was trying to do with this client was help him flush out, what would my life be like if I went and did that thing? How would that be for me? I wanted him to explore that in his own mind and come to his own conclusion, hopefully that's probably not a good idea. But on my Instagram post, I just kind of stopped with, yeah, you should just go be a porn star. and I didn't really get into explaining like what I was really trying to do as his therapist, instead of me just telling him. And it's such better therapy. It's actual therapy when you help your clients come to their own realizations of truth, and whatever it may be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a comment on this post, and I want to throw this question past you. It says, so I made this post about how this guy, I just encouraged him to follow whatever, and she says, quick question. Do most therapists encourage people to just be their, in quotation marks, their authentic selves, or will they actually tell someone, I think you're delusional?
Yeah, that's good. That's a good question and a good comment.
Yeah.
Right. I let me just start by saying my personal experience is that most therapists actually kind of do neither. Most therapists are so afraid of losing a client that they just say whatever they think the client wants to hear.
Yeah, which is the worst.
Yeah, which is not good therapy. So but the question she's asking actually is a really good question that I think warrants a good discussion here, Brannon. Yes. Basically what she's asking is, and this is something I guess both of us could explore, is what is the job of the therapist in terms of facilitating acceptance of things of a person exactly as they are, or pushing for change or speaking certain principles?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
That's what you're asking. That's really what she's asking is, what is the job of the therapist, and what would a good therapist do in a situation like that?
Right. And so I do have an answer for that. Because it's funny that when we used to work together more in groups and things like that, you saw me as the guy that was just like in people's faces. That's denial. You're not being honest with yourself. Boom, boom, boom. Just very kind of blunt, direct.
It actually felt like good cop, bad cop a little bit. Yeah. You were the bad cop. I was the good cop. And,
This is one of the first times I've been accused of, being too soft to let people just live their authentic self. But here's the deal. Like, I do think it's our job to help people see denial. It's not our job to get them to see it. It's our job to help them see it. And so it's our job to help them reflect on reality and try to come to what truth is and what truth isn't, and then help them navigate the next steps to take according to that reality. And so, and where therapists get in the way is when they insert themselves too much into the equation. I want to be important. I want to be valid. Look at me. Look how smart I am. That's where they become a problem, where when a client comes in and it's just like, hey, this is my issue. This is where I'm at. One of the first things that we do is just ask inquisitive questions to dig through it, to try to really help them flush out where are they really, what is really going on for them, and what do they actually want? What consequences do they want in their life moving forward? I believe that's what the role of a therapist is.
Yeah. So it's funny because over the years, Brannon, you've probably experienced the same thing, but every client comes in a little bit different, and every client comes in wanting and expecting something a little bit different from their therapist. Yep. Some clients come in and they sit down and they tell you their situation. They're like, tell me what to do. And then other clients come in and they expect a discussion back and forth, a sounding board, and a lot of it has to do with style too of the therapist. Mm-hmm. But there's also some principles in play that you're getting at. So I'm going to go out on a limb and believe that when you were talking to this client, you were talking about that the deep inside of you kind of like, you don't think that his best option is to go be a porn star.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, okay. I really strongly felt that. And that's what initially I'd want to just blurt out at him. Right.
Yeah. Right. And so the challenge is then if you know that that's already true, some people would say you should just speak that to him and hit him with the swift sword of truth and be like, dude, like, come to your senses right now. Right. But you didn't choose to do that, even though you suspect that that's probably the conclusion he's going to need to come to if he wants the kind of life that he's saying he wants.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So in some ways, what you're choosing to do is taking a different approach other than a head-on approach to try to get to the same destination.
Well, I actually think it's a much more effective approach.
Yeah. Explain why though, in this case, like why, because I agree with you. In fact, I think there's a couple of things I want to add in on it, but tell me why that was more effective.
Well, it's similar to to our children, for example, right? Like I could remove all obstacles from my kids and just give them the answers to everything, or I could hold my son's seat of his bike forever and he'll never fall. I'd get a good workout over and over again, but he'll never fall. Eventually I'm going to have to be like, hey, like you're going to have to wobble a little bit and do this thing. And you're going to fall a few times. And that's how you're going to really learn how to ride this bike. So it's the same principle with clients. I could give you the answer right now, or I could help you navigate through this answer so that you experience something and you resonate in what that truth is to you, rather than just hearing it from me and being like, oh yeah, that sounds right. Like, okay, thanks, Brannon. I'll either combat against that and reject it and fight against you, or I'll drink it all in, but I won't have that experience.
Yeah. So in a way, I'm hearing you basically say you're trying to teach the man how to fish instead of giving him a fish.
Oh man, you always work it into that analogy. Man. Next we teach men how to teach to fish.
That's right. Well, actually, that's true. That's why we have mentors in our groups that have been through all of our program, but they still come and they mentor, because that's a whole new level of learning, right?
Yes.
But that's exactly what you're saying. So a couple of things that I want to maybe bring out with this specific instance that you're talking about is that the techniques that you're using in what you described, they get outlined in a type of therapy called the 7 Challenges pretty well. The 7 Challenges is a therapy that's developed for youth who are at risk and who are kind of oppositionally defiant. The whole premise of that treatment is that the therapist sides themselves with the youth in the form of an exploration of the choices they're wanting to make. Yeah. And so now the therapist is going to support whatever choice that youth comes to, as long as the youth accepts and knows all of the risks that they're signing themselves up for. Yep. And so instead of having a fight with the therapist and never getting down to the roots of what's actually happening, the therapist gets to go on this journey and so on and so forth. There's another thing that in the book, The Power of Moments, they talk about a principle called tripping over the truth. And have you read The Power of Moments?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. When they go to that village in Africa where they can't keep clean drinking water, mm-hmm. and the guy shows up and he asks where everybody goes to the bathroom, and they all just kind of say everywhere, and he's holding a thing of chalk and he has them put a model of their village on the ground. And while he's talking, he's just kind of swinging the chalk around, and the chalk's kind of landing all over the village. And then as he's doing that, he starts asking where everyone goes to the bathroom. And then he looks down at the village and he says, the chalk is just like your poo. And then they look down at the village we're drinking our own poo. It's that's way more powerful than him showing up and being like, you guys, this isn't sanitary. Stop
drinking your poo.
Yeah. They don't understand that. But once they kind of stumble into it or trip over the truth, there's what you were getting at is there's an emotional experience that goes along with the mental experience that then somehow makes that learning go a little bit deeper.
Yeah.
And really what you're hoping for is that man, long after he's not in your office, that he's able to go and do the same kinds of exploration and make those same kinds of decisions without you having to compel him to do that.
Yes. To look within, to really look at what he desires and the outcomes that he wants. Yes.
Right. Now with that said, Brannon, I think this is what's a big challenge for, I know you and I both, but probably most therapists, is
that those two principles go hand in hand with being a good therapist, the push for change and acceptance.
Yeah.
And we're constantly in navigation. And so like, I know that some of my listeners here, some of my guys in group or whatever, one week I'll show up and I'll be like, do you guys hear yourselves? Do you really hear what's happening? Like, do you hear the denial? And other weeks I'll be like, oh, well, what do you guys think? Like, that sounds, and it sometimes feels like it's not like consistent, but it's also because I'm trying to balance acceptance and change at the same time. And sometimes it feels like you want to hit something straight on. And sometimes it feels like it's going to be more effective to try to hit it from the side, or to even go over the top on some validation to build trust and show empathy. And it takes all of that to be a good therapist.
Yeah, that's a good point. But okay, let me give you a scenario and see how you'd play this out. So, and this is a real scenario. I was working with he was like 20 years old, a guy, and he was really low energy, felt definitely somewhat depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And he was looking at porn every day. He was really addicted to video games. So it was a daily just video games. He'd go to work. He did have a job, but immediately after work, he'd hit the video games hard. And I'm talking to him and he's like, yeah, my mom and dad want me to go to college, and they want me to get a better job, and they want me to do more in my life. And I don't want to. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'm kind of, doing my thing, like trying to help him explore it out. And I, I get him to admit that he's feeling a little depressed. But then he comes back to, but I'm fine with that. If I spend the next 10, 15 years in a little tiny apartment and I can play my video games every single day, that sounds like a great life to me. That's what I want. I don't really want to get married. I don't want to it's just, I don't want to put myself out there in life too much. I just want to play video games. Okay. Take it away, Tyler.
well, I think according to the principle we're talking about here, actually, like, we get these kinds of clients come through all the time. You as a therapist have to ask yourself if what they're telling you is actually the truth too. Mm-hmm. Right. So maybe he's saying that because he's actually hopeless and he's not really feeling like he could settle for anything better. Or maybe he really does mean it. He's like, you know what? I'm good with a low grade of depression. I can see that there's a connection between Mountain Dew and video games and staying in my parents' basement and me not feeling good about myself. But
why do you automatically assume he drinks Mountain Dew?
Well, they have to go back and listen to the old episode of why men love porn, video games, and Mountain Dew. Right. But no.
but side note, have you seen Flaming Hot Mountain Dew?
I've seen some labels for that.
Yeah, I tried it yesterday.
Oh, really? What'd you think?
Well, I think I can try it for the both of us, and you don't need to go get it. Yeah. Anyways, we digress.
Yeah. That's a whole new level, right? Yes. So back to kind of what we're talking about here. As a therapist, first and foremost, I have to have a relationship of trust with my client.
Okay.
So if we're having this discussion and it's like day one, I'm going to spend a lot of my time actually really trying to understand him and try to make sure that what I'm gathering from him feels as authentic as possible. And I'm going to spend a lot of time validating how it makes sense that he'd be feeling depressed, and it makes sense that he'd want to go and do the things he's doing. And it makes sense. There'd be a heavy amount of validation.
I call that building collateral or building rapport, right?
Yeah, because you need that. Like it's like the principles from the Anatomy of Peace. It's like Grandpa Harris used to say, nobody really cares how much you know until they know how much you care, right? So there's going to be, the nature of therapy for me typically flows into, let's build a relationship. Let's, number one, establish that I can show empathy and understanding and connect with you. And that's also established that I have some ability to help you. I have some knowledge. Yes. I have some tools. I have the ability to help you. And as that trust builds, the more trust you gain in a relationship, the more power for influence you actually have.
Yes. Because
people are more open and receptive to whatever you're going to give them when they trust you, right? So we're going to build trust. And then as we talk about that, I'm probably going to take sort of that 7 challenges approach and say, let's walk this thing all the way to the bitter end. Like 5-10 years from now, you're saying you're okay with being in your parents' basement, drinking Mountain Dew, playing video games. What are going to be the real benefits to you over that 10 years? What are going to be the real costs to you over that 10 years?
Right.
And I might have to be the one who helps to point out some of those costs because there may be a level of denial there.
I mean, as a 20-year-old kid who might not even know what this could lead to, right?
Right. And so but if I jump in right off the bat and be like, well, you're going to be then he's going to be like, well, why would I listen to this guy? Right. But if he trusts me and I'm able to say, okay, so yeah, you're going to feel some low grade of depression. 30 years. I mean, when you're at 30 years old doing the same thing versus 20 years old, that's probably going to feel and look different. How much is it going to cost you mentally and emotionally? How much is it going to cost you with your time? I might even go so far as to like put a dollar amount on what that time is going to cost, just to kind of help to try to like help put some other factors in the mix for the client to think about. And then at the end,
many of you have heard about our in-person retreats. We're really excited about our upcoming Rising Sun retreat. I could talk all day about all the reasons why you should attend, but I'll let those who have attended in the past speak for themselves.
If I had a friend who was contemplating attending this conference, I would say do it. Sign up as soon as you can.
Man, you got to do it. You got to do it. I'll be you guys' advertising arm because I'm going to tell everybody I know about this conference.
Oh man, I would say, again, I have nothing but positive things to say about it. So
there's no reason not to come.
Definitely attend.
If you have the means, it would be a mistake not to come.
Do it. You won't be disappointed.
Well, I would say it takes a leap of faith to come to one of these things because you're not going to know what it's going to be coming into it, and it's completely worth it.
Just go for it.
So I would tell that friend that he should definitely come.
It is definitely worth the time, the effort, the money.
If you have any thought whatsoever whether or not you should go, just go.
Even after I signed up, I told my wife I didn't want to come the first day. I was like nervous as all get out. I knew it was going to be uncomfortable, everything about it. But I would look at that person and say, you will never regret.
To help you to know how to find the joy that you're seeking in your life, to do this, take it seriously, and add it to your regimen moving forward. It has been powerful, just incredibly powerful.
If you want to get a better feel for what you might experience and get more information, go to risingsun.org. That's risingsun.org, or find a link in the show notes. Hope to see you in person at the next event.
Think about, and then at the end of the day, this is my own personal style. I'm still always going to revert back to no matter what you choose, it's your choice and you get to own it. You have to own it.
Right.
So,
and the reason I brought him up as the example is because in the end with him, I did this for a while. Right. And I did all the things let's like really look at the consequences of it and what it would be like. And in the end, he said, yeah, I do understand all those things and it's what I want.
Okay. So, and this is where it's hard. Is that where you turn him loose and say, man, I'm a great therapist. Fix that one.
Well, I will turn him loose at that point. I'll
success.
I'll refer him to you actually. No, but I will turn him loose in this sense. I'll say, I don't think I'm the right therapist for you. I think it's fine. You can be right where you're at. But I'm going to have a really hard time with watching these consequences come and supporting you in this. So, and I don't want to change you. I don't want to try to force you otherwise. Right. Here's another example. I had a client who came in and I've known her for a while, and she came in and she said, my husband has been acting out, a few times a week. But he's come to me and he's honest about it, and he's saying, I'm acting out, but I'm not going to tell you about every time I act out, because I don't feel bad about it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and I'm not going to try to change it. And so she came in and she said, I think that he's being truthful with that's what he's going to do. And I don't want to divorce him, and I don't want our family to break apart. And I'm not okay with that, but I said, well, is it a deal breaker for you? And she said, I don't think that it actually is. It almost is.
Okay.
And so then we're looking at this and we're like, okay, then what do we do with it?
Yeah. What do you do with something like that?
Yeah.
And where I typically go with a client that's in that kind of a spot is then I say, okay, then how do you find the most joy in your life and suffer the least with the reality of the situation that you just painted?
That's exactly what I did with her.
So you're going to stay in a marriage where there's going to be active addiction. It's open, honest, active addiction. You're not going to leave. So now how do you operate as your best self inside of that set of circumstances?
Yeah, that's where we went.
And that's all you really can do, because that's the reality that client's choosing.
Yep. It's interesting, Tyler, and this is, who knows how every story ends, but that's exactly what I did with her. I said, if this is the reality, then how can you find peace and happiness and act in your truths and be a boundaried person in this reality? If you're saying that this is your truth, in the end, she started to show up healthier and honest with him, and there was some friction, and he came around and actually kind of changed and got into some solid recovery, and so that was awesome. It doesn't always end that way.
Sure. Right? Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so there it is. You get back to the reality, and then you say, how do you navigate that? I want to help you navigate that.
Yeah.
So
let's at least operate in the reality that we can see. Right. Yeah. So that kind of goes to the question that this woman sent you on Instagram is like, are you actually avoiding reality by not pointing out the denial that's there?
There's a difference between delusion and denial.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But it's slight, but there's a difference. So somebody who has delusions, Tyler, if I said, Tyler, I know that, there's a frog on your head right now. I see that frog, and like, you can't talk me out of it. I know there's a frog there.
Right.
What do you do with delusions?
Well, what do you do with someone who's delusional?
Yeah. You don't challenge a delusion directly. This is what I've been taught. And it's never worked. Like, no, there's not,
there's actually not a frog on my head, Brannon. You're nuts. You're crazy.
Right. It was like grandma with her Alzheimer's, and she knew her kids were always lost. And it's like, grandma, your kids are in the other room. Don't tell me my kids are, where's my kids? Like, it doesn't do any good.
Yeah.
Like, she knows the kids are not there, And it was interesting with grandma. I started validating her and empathizing. Like, man, that's got to be really hard to feel like your kids are gone. Like, that's probably the scariest thing ever, grandma. And it would just kind of kill the energy a little bit with her.
Yeah. With grandma, I went so far as to be so codependent that we had a daughter that was about the same age as Casey when she was a little girl. Casey's our sister. And grandma was running around the house going, where's Casey? Where's Casey? Where's Casey? And then she saw my daughter, Lexi, and she's like, oh, there she is. And she went over and put her arms right around Lexi, and Lexi's looking at us like, what do I do? And
you're calling Lexi in the room. Like, hey, get in here. Grandma's going back in.
Lexi, just lay by your grandma for a minute.
So, yeah,
I'm not saying that's a healthy thing to do, but that's how powerful and poignant that was with that delusion that she was in. Right.
Right. A delusion is a real mental illness where it is their reality. Like that frog on the head is actually there, and it's a reality. Denial, and here's the slight difference, because I do think it's our job to help reflect back denial and even call it out when we need to, when we have enough rapport with a client. Denial is when I want to manipulate things because reality is too painful.
Yeah.
And so I go into denial to justify, to minimize, to do all these things because reality is too painful. And And I think it's our job as a therapist to help somebody face reality, to deal with reality.
I agree with you. And I think there's a whole bunch of different styles of therapists, but they can all kind of get to the same principles in different ways, and I like what you said a second ago. And I think this is important that, in dialectical behavioral therapy, one of the premises that a therapist has to agree to is that my client will never fail. Only I will fail my client.
Yes.
And when a therapist hears that, they're like, ew, like, yeah, like now every time my client fails, that means I failed. Like, no, what it means is that I'm going to do my best to offer what I can. I'm going to do my best to help my client. And if it's not working, I'm going to be creative and find something else. I'm going to try a different approach. I'll try to something different. And at a certain point, I'll be the one that fails my client. I won't be the right fit. Right. And it takes a good therapist will understand that. And so so for instance, I have a certain set of values and principles that we teach on this podcast all the time, that I teach in my practice. I'm not going to back off on those principles and values with who I am, or even as a therapist. And there will be people who come through the door that don't necessarily line up with those values. And at a certain point, I'm going to have to be able to say, looks like I'm not going to be the right guy for you.
Like the guy that came in and values a therapist who dresses professionally and you were in shorts.
Yeah. I mean, for those watching, I'm wearing my t-shirt and shorts, and he walked in, he was a dentist from somewhere. And he was like, first the words out of his mouth, sits down on the couch. He's like, "Are you Tyler?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm Tyler. How can I help you?" He's like, "Do you dress like this every day?" I said, "Yes. In fact, I don't think I own a pair of pants. I just have shorts." And he looked at me like, this is crazy look on his face. He's like, "I'm a professional and I expect to come to a professional. So you're not the right person for me." And I was like, "Okay, that's great. I got three other names."
You failed him quickly.
"I got 3 other names for you and you're going to be really happy with them. Let me find the guys who wear bow ties and tuxes to work, and you can go there. That'll be just fine."
Yes.
Right. Yeah. and that's okay. But
it's okay.
A good therapist will hold that line enough, and a bad therapist will be like, next time they see that client on the schedule, I'll be showing up with a shirt and tie,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. A good therapist shows up as authentic and boundaried and in their integrity. And, the best thing, and this is kind of a peek behind the curtain, and I tell my therapists this all the time, the most therapeutic thing that a therapist can do is for them to just be them. Is for them to show up because within that therapist, within you, Tyler, and within me, is a soul that can create love and can help that love heal somebody else. And if I'm trying to be something else in order to create that, then that gets in the way. And like you say, Tyler, some people don't resonate with you, and it's fine if they go somewhere else for their therapy.
I always encourage my clients, if they're going to try to schedule an intake, I'll say, go spend the money and the time, go to 3 or 4 intakes before you decide. And then you'll know style, you'll know values, you'll know personality. And I'm a big believer in that. There's actually a big book that was written, like a whole kind of accumulative research thing. The book's called The Heart and Soul of Change. And they looked at all of the factors that help people change in therapy. And the number one factor that they were able to deduce was the relationship you have with your therapist.
Yes.
Is the number one factor as to whether or not you'll change. And so it becomes really important to look at those things. Now, you and I, Brannon, we're a little bit different now than when we were in graduate school.
Yeah.
In graduate school, we were kind of taught, like, hey, you show up and you dictate the theory of therapy that you're doing, and you're the expert. And both of us,
they don't connect to you on an emotional human level.
Exactly.
Because you're the expert and you have that distance.
Exactly. And I think both of us have come to the conclusion in our work that, and the Heart and Soul of Change would back this up, is that, and I tell this to my therapists all the time, they are their own best instrument in therapy.
Yes.
Like, the most therapeutic thing that they're going to bring is themselves.
Yep.
And some people have different personalities for a reason. And that's why it's cool to have a practice where you have 10 different therapists with 10 different personalities,
right?
Because you're going to find the right kind of fit for the right kind of client. but that's important. And a lot of people try to diminish that because they don't feel comfortable in their own skin.
Right. And then the other side of it, Tyler, I would say is, and this may be to help all these clients out there, these people listening, to have a little bit of love and compassion for their therapist, because it is their job to connect with you, to empathize with you, to hold space for you. But that's heavy and it's hard. And it's also their job to have boundaries on the back end of that, of being able to let some of your stuff go so that they can have their life too. And they can have some energy with their families and their spouses. And so that's why self-care, it's what's behind the scenes behind your therapist, you guys, if you're listening, is hopefully if your therapist is really good, they're doing some really good self-care behind the scenes, because they gotta deal with all this pain and energy that they're holding all day, every day. And so that's the job of a therapist too, is to take care of themselves so that they can show up and connect to their clients.
Yeah. If you have a therapist who's really, really loose on their boundaries, meaning they're like, hey, I'll meet you anytime. You want to meet at midnight? I will. You want to meet at 6 a.m? I will. Like,
yeah, they're going to burn out.
They're going to burn themselves out so quickly that they're not going to be able to be as effective as they need to for the long haul. And so a good therapist is really good at their own self-care, and they're good with their own boundaries.
Yep. The average therapist, I heard, lasts 3.5 years.
Yeah. An addiction therapist is less than that. It's 2 years.
Should we share that with the listeners, some of our unhealthy stuff? So because Tyler, I mean, my record is 11 straight sessions with a group right after. So I did like 13 hours of therapy I mean, and I wouldn't have like my 10 minutes between each session, because I'd let each client push it to the limit.
Right.
Yeah. So 13 straight hours of listening. My eyes were bugging out of my head, and I was twitching everywhere. Like, it takes so much energy to sit and just listen and hold space and be there.
Try to be creative. Yeah.
Yeah. So I learned from that, and I've changed, and I've really adjusted my self-care, because I was totally burned out. I was burning out to the point where I was not a good therapist, because I cared too much and I gave too much of myself. So there's got to be limits, right?
Yeah. You know me, Brannon, I know I struggle with workaholism. And there was a time where I was working like 90 hours a week and just burning the candle at both ends. And everyone around me was kind of saying it. You were saying it. My wife was saying it. Everyone's saying, Tyler, like, you're going to burn yourself out. And I'm like, no, I can do it. I can do it.
He's the Iron Man.
Yeah, that's the nickname you gave me, is the Iron Man, you know? And then it came to a point where my wife finally said to me, she said, look, like, everything else around us is like not working, Tyler. Like, I need your time. Like, so you figure out a day to give me, or I'm going to suggest a day, but either way, if you don't give it to me, then things are going to start changing, you know? So, but then I realized something, and I kind of had this burnout mode where I was totally done. I thought, oh, I'm out of therapy. I can't do this anymore. And then I just realized, you know what? Currently I've grown into a place where this is going to sound crazy, but I have 2 hours a day that I dedicate to my own dailies, because I realize that I have clients who would love those 2 hours. I cannot give that time, because I won't be a good therapist for that client at the end of the day if I put clients in at the first of the day. So I have to have that time to care for myself, where I do all of my daily stuff. And I'm way better off as a therapist doing 2 hours a day a week. And my clients get a way better product when I do 2 hours of dailies instead of plugging in more hours.
Yep. We have limits here at Therapy Utah as to how many sessions in a row a therapist can do. Mm-hmm. Because they need just even 1 hour of stopping and breathing and
grounding,
just grounding and not listening is really important. And so there's got to be limits, and there's got to be boundaries. And I mean, what you're talking about, Tyler, 2 hours of dailies, not only are you taking a break from therapy, but you're refilling your bucket. I know you hike in the mountains a lot. You spend time with your dog. You're out in nature. You're feeling alive, and that gives you that energy to be able to do what you do with your clients. So
it's a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this discussion's been awesome, Tyler. It's fun to kind of talk about what it's like to be a therapist. I love what we do.
Me too.
It's high reward, it's high burnout. It's interesting. It pushes you. I think the therapists that I've trained and I'm kind of watching them grow, they get themselves into something they didn't realize they were getting themselves into. It's like, oh shoot, I'm going to have to look at myself. I'm going to have to get healthy. Like, dang it. Like, yeah. But that's what's awesome about our job too, is it really gives back to us a lot. If you do the best you can to show up the best you can for your clients, then you're going to get healthier yourself, and it's good all around. So
yeah, it's a great thing. So yeah, interesting conversation today. I'll be interested to hear what some of you guys are thinking, and thank you to whoever that was that made a comment on your video.
Yeah. All right, you guys, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.